If you've ever used coding agents like Cursor, Claude Code, or CodeX, or Open Code, you probably know about AGENTS.md or CLAUDE.md file, which you usually put into root of your project. And this file is very important. It contains some description of your repository and some guidelines for the agent. And if you checked out documentation for any of the agent or any tutorial, usually the first tip people would give you is to create this file, put it into root of your project where you work, and this will help agent dramatically. In this video, I want to show you the latest research that was done in University in Zurich about how having agents.md file can actually make it worse rather than better. And also I'll tell you what exactly you need to do. So if you want to improve the quality of your AI-generated code, please continue watching. So agents.md file is a file that you put into root of your project, and usually this file is appended to system prompt of your agent. And in this file, you describe the repository structure, you describe how to run main commands, how to build project, how to run it, how to run tests. And in many agents like Claude Code or CodeX, you have this init command. This init command will initialize its version using the agent itself. There was recently this paper released which compares 3 different ways of having this agents.md file. So first way is having no agents.md file. Second way is AI-generated agents.md file. And the third one is manually written by human agents.md file. How they did their comparison is that they asked agent to do some tasks, and then they calculated how many tests successfully passed after the completing of this task, and compared these 3 different options handling agents.md file. The results were actually quite surprising. If you use LLM-generated agents.md file, so if you run /init command, it usually decreases your success rate of tests by 3%. If you use handwritten, human-written agents.md file, it increases the test pass by 4%. In any cases, having such guidelines as agents.md increase the cost by 20%. The cost, I mean, in terms of tokens or in terms of usage in your subscription. The main reason behind this is that agents can explore the code base themselves and do it with a high quality and understand all the nuances about the code base. Obviously, this doesn't work always in that way, but still, like, the agents are way better than they were even like 6 months ago. So what I think is the best way having this information. So first I need to say that these are valid evaluation and quite reasonable on the one hand, and on the other hand, we need to understand that we all have different tasks, and having your agent explore the code base every time still probably adds some additional usage, some additional costs, and also it takes time and it loads context, so it can lead to more hallucinations. So we need to check in practice for our specific tasks how it works. So what I find is the best way to work with agents.md. First is to write minimal instructions. So we don't need to write some obvious things to instructions. We don't need to add some comments how to run the project, how to run tests, because usually model can figure this out automatically and with a very good precision. Second is that in these files, we need to focus more on the product side, not on the technological side. We don't need to explain model how to build things with different libraries, but we need to more specify what is our goal, what are we building, so something about the future that the model doesn't know and can't figure out from the repository itself. Third is it makes sense to add some repetitive mistakes to these files. If you notice that the model does the same thing again and again and you don't like it, it makes sense to add to this file. Fourth rule is to update these files regularly, because if this file is outdated, it can just confuse the model, and it's better not to have this file than to have outdated file with some information that is misleading for the agent. The fifth and the final rule is that you don't need to write some obvious instructions like write good code or always make sure the code is professional. You don't need to do this. The models are very good nowadays, and I believe companies like OpenAI and Anthropic and Google, they fine-tune their models on high-quality code to make it better and better. So you don't need to write such obvious things. What you can write instead is if you have some specific requirements for the code, like for example, you want for every function to have detailed comment, then you can add this to your agents.md file. On the other hand, think about if you can have this rule integrated into your LinkedIn in your project, then it's better to add it there than to add these instructions to agents.md file. This was all I wanted to share. I hope it was useful. Please let me know how you use AGENTS.md or CLAUDE.md or Gemini.md or whatever MD files in your repository. It would be very interesting to know. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. We post every week some useful tutorials on CodeX, Claude Code, Cursor, and other coding agents. And see you next time.